Today we're tackling one of the wasteland's most underrated threats: aggressive overgrowth. That's right, forget the raiders, forget the radiation. The real enemy is that kudzu vine that's been eyeing your shelter like it's prime real estate. Here's the thing about abandoned ruins. The moment humans stop trimming hedges and spraying herbicides, plants throw an absolute rager. Without maintenance, vines and roots grow unchecked, and they grow fast. We're talking inches per day in the right conditions. They crack foundations. They lift floorboards. They turn a perfectly good hideout into a botanical nightmare. Controlling this overgrowth isn't just about aesthetics. Nobody's winning any curb appeal awards in the apocalypse. It's about safety. It's about keeping pathways clear. It's about making sure the shelter roof doesn't cave in because some ambitious root system decided to become load-bearing. So grab whatever sharp object you've scavenged, and let's talk about reclaiming space from the green menace. First things first, not all overgrowth requires immediate action. Some vines are just vibing, minding their own business, providing decent camouflage for a shelter. Those aren't the problem. The problem is the aggressive stuff. The mutant-level growth that treats buildings like personal jungle gyms. Here are the warning signs to watch for. Rapid spread is the big one. If a vine wasn't there last week, and now it's covering an entire wall, that's concerning. Normal plants grow. Apocalypse plants conquer. Structural damage comes next. Cracks spreading through concrete along root lines. Walls bulging outward. Floorboards lifting like something underneath is trying to escape. These are all signs that the root system has decided it lives there now, and the building is just going to have to deal with it. Foundation creep is particularly nasty. Roots will work their way into any crack, any gap, any tiny imperfection in a foundation. Then they grow, and they're patient. They'll spend months slowly widening a crack until one day the whole wall decides to take a nap. Listen for sounds, too. Creaking that follows rainfall, popping noises from walls, the gentle sound of masonry giving up on life. Plants don't make noise, but the structures they're destroying absolutely do. The general rule: if the overgrowth is touching something load-bearing, it needs attention. If it's just decorating a fence post, maybe let that one slide. Now, in a perfect world, everyone would have professional landscaping equipment, lovely pruning shears, gas-powered hedge trimmers, maybe one of those pole saws for the high stuff. This is not a perfect world. This is the apocalypse, so we improvise. Scrap metal blades are the foundation of wasteland gardening. Any flat piece of metal can become a cutting edge with enough patience and a rough surface for sharpening. Old car body panels work well. So do kitchen knives, obviously. Even a sharpened piece of rebar can handle smaller vines if the determination is there. The key is the edge. A dull blade doesn't cut. It tears. Tearing requires more force. More force means more noise, and more noise attracts attention nobody wants. Keep edges sharp. Find a whetstone, a piece of concrete with a smooth surface, even a ceramic tile. Regular sharpening makes everything easier. Rope saws deserve special mention. 2 handles, a length of abrasive rope or wire between them. Wrap it around a branch or thick vine, pull back and forth. It's slower than a blade, but handles thicker targets and requires almost no force, just patience. Perfect for root systems that need surgical removal rather than aggressive hacking. Scavenged shears still exist out there. Garden centers, hardware stores, abandoned suburban garages. Most are rusted, but rust doesn't mean useless. Clean them up, oil the joint with literally any lubricant available, sharpen the blades, and they're back in business. A good pair of loppers is worth its weight in canned goods. For the really thick stuff, an axe or hatchet remains the gold standard. Nothing fancy required. Swing, repeat, victory. Just watch out for the bounce back. Sometimes cutting isn't the answer. Maybe the root system is too established. Maybe there's no time for removal. Maybe, and this happens more often than anyone admits, the roots are actually providing some structural support to an already compromised building, and removing them would be catastrophic. In these cases, redirection is the play. Stakes and barriers work by convincing roots that growing in a particular direction is more trouble than it's worth. Drive stakes into the ground along the path. Roots shouldn't take. Use scrap metal, thick branches, whatever's available. Roots aren't smart, but they do follow the path of least resistance. Make the wrong path resistant. Debris rearrangement sounds simple because it is. Heavy objects placed strategically discourage root growth beneath them. concrete chunks, engine blocks, that mysteriously heavy filing cabinet every abandoned office seems to have. Roots will grow around obstacles rather than through them. Tension lines are more advanced, but incredibly effective for vines. Anchor points on either side of where a vine is growing, cords stretched tight between them. The vine will naturally follow the line rather than whatever structure it was originally climbing. Redirect it towards something expendable, or just away from something important. The underground game is trickier. Trenching works if there's time and energy for it. A narrow trench filled with gravel or rubble creates a barrier roots don't want to cross. It's labor-intensive, but it's a permanent solution for protecting a specific area. One important note: redirection takes time. Roots don't change direction overnight. This is a long-term strategy, not an emergency response. Plan accordingly. Let's take a moment to address the elephant in the ruins, or rather, the extremely stubborn vine that absolutely refuses to cooperate. Every wasteland gardener has encountered this. The root that was definitely cut yesterday but somehow looks fine today. The vine that was redirected north but has decided south is more interesting. The entire bush that appears to be growing out of sheer spite. This is normal. Plants in the apocalypse have developed what can only be described as an attitude problem. The professional approach is to remain calm, to assess the situation, to develop a measured, strategic response. The realistic approach involves a lot of increasingly creative language, and eventually just accepting that this particular plant has one. Some battles aren't worth fighting. If a vine wants that corner of the building badly enough to keep coming back, maybe that vine deserves that corner. There are other corners. This is a negotiation, and sometimes the plant has better leverage. The important thing is to not take it personally. The vine isn't targeting anyone specifically. It's just doing what vines do, aggressively, persistently. With what feels like malicious intent, but is technically just biology, move on, focus on the growth that can be controlled, and occasionally glare at the vine that got away, just to maintain dignity. Now for the less comedic, but critically important part: overgrowth control is dangerous work, and not in the obvious ways. Collapsing structures are the primary concern. Remember how roots in vines compromise structural integrity? Sometimes they're also the only thing holding a wall together. Removing them can trigger an immediate collapse. Always assess what a root system might be supporting before cutting anything. Look for walls leaning on vine masses. Check if roots have grown through and around foundation cracks in ways that might actually be stabilizing them. When in doubt, leave it alone. Tripping hazards seem minor until they cause a fall into something sharp or through something rotten. Clear the work area before starting any cutting. Know where every root, every vine, every piece of debris is located. One stumble in the wrong direction can turn a gardening session into a medical emergency. Tension in vines is frequently underestimated. Living vines are often under significant tension, especially if they've been climbing and twisting for months or years. Cutting them can result in the vine whipping back with surprising force. Thick vines can carry enough energy to cause serious injury. Always cut from a stable position. Never stand in the potential path of a released vine. Make small cuts first to release tension gradually rather than one big cut that releases everything at once. Sharp tools require respect. This seems obvious, but complacency kills. A moment of inattention with a scavenged machete creates a wound that, in the apocalypse, could be life-threatening. Work deliberately, never rush. Keep blades pointed away from the body. Finally, allergic reactions and irritants exist even in the wasteland. Some vines cause skin reactions. Some roots release compounds when cut that shouldn't be inhaled. If a plant looks unfamiliar, treat it with caution. Long sleeves and gloves, if available, are always worthwhile. Here's where wasteland gardening becomes wasteland recycling. All that trimmed vegetation isn't waste, it's resources. Cordage is the most valuable product. Vines, once stripped of leaves and dried slightly, make excellent rope. Braid multiple thinner vines together for strength. Twist fibers from certain stems into surprisingly durable twine. This takes practice, but the result is functional cord that can be produced in significant quantities from a single aggressive overgrowth clearing session. Insulation from dried plant matter works better than expected. Stuffed into wall gaps, layered on floors, piled into bedding. It's not as good as synthetic materials, but it's abundant and renewable. Let's make sure it's actually dry. Damp plant matter invites mold, insects, and general unpleasantness. Binding material for construction comes from both vines and flexible roots, lashing poles together for temporary structures, securing tarps or fabric over openings, creating handles for improvised tools. Any situation requiring something to be attached to something else can potentially use natural cordage. Some roots are edible, though this requires knowledge that goes beyond overgrowth control. The point is simply that root systems dug up during redirection efforts shouldn't be automatically discarded. Research helps here. Some roots are nutritious. Some roots are toxic. Knowing the difference is important. Fuel is the simplest use. Dried vines and roots burn. They're not the best fuel source, but they're better than nothing when other options are limited. Stockpile the woody portions of removed vegetation for fires when conventional fuel runs low. The philosophy here is straightforward. Nothing gets wasted. Every bit of cleared growth serves a secondary purpose. This is efficiency, and efficiency is survival. Here's the final takeaway. Survivors. Controlling overgrowth isn't glamorous. It's not dramatic. Nobody's going to tell epic stories about the time someone trimmed back some vines, but it's essential. Every cleared pathway is faster evacuation if something goes wrong. Every controlled root system is a shelter that stays standing another season. Every redirected vine is structural integrity preserved for future use. The apocalypse is full of immediate threats, obvious dangers, things that demand attention right now. Overgrowth is different. It's slow, it's patient. It's easy to ignore until suddenly it's not. The ruins belong to whoever maintains them. Let the green take over, and eventually the green wins. Keep it controlled, keep it managed, keep it redirected away from things that matter, and the space remains usable, livable, safe. This is the unsexy truth of wasteland survival, the daily maintenance, the ongoing battle against entropy, the willingness to spend time on problems that won't kill anyone today, but absolutely will kill someone eventually if ignored. So get out there, assess the overgrowth around whatever shelter has been claimed. Identify the dangerous spots, make a plan. Execute that plan with whatever improvised tools are available. And maybe, just maybe, develop a grudging respect for the plants that keep trying despite every effort to stop them. They're survivors too, in their own way. They just need to learn to survive somewhere else. Stay sharp, stay safe, and remember, the vines are always watching. See you in the wasteland.